Welcome back to Carneades.org. Today we're going to be continuing with our series, The Case for Free Speech with John Stuart Mill. In this video we're going to be looking at free speech versus theocracy. Now, a theocracy is simply government by religion. Even in non-theocratic societies, religions often attempt to have influence over government policies. Many religions want the government to step in and limit free speech. We're going to lump arguments for this limitation into two categories. The claim that religion is a better path to truth than free speech is, and the claim that free speech leads to blasphemy and blasphemy should be censored. A video later in the series, Free Speech versus the Prophet Muhammad, is going to cover the idea of blasphemy. This video is going to focus on the argument about truth. So, one of the central arguments that Mill uses to defend the need for free speech is that it is essential to the pursuit of truth. If we're unable to speak about and assess new ideas, we will never recognize when our ideas are wrong. Basically, Mill says that we need to allow people to question even those things that we hold dear and that everyone else but that one person in society believes, because that process of questioning those ideas will eventually lead to us better understanding things and us gaining truth. The process of constantly challenging the beliefs of society is, according to Mill, the best way to arrive at truth and true beliefs. Now, however, for many religions, though not all, it is antithetical to two central tenets of religion. One is the claim that truth is arrived at through faith, not through reason, rational argument, or questioning dogma, and that the claims of holy texts or the leader of the religion, what have you, must be correct regardless of the strengths of the arguments against them. Basically, we have the issue of religious people believing that truth that comes from faith, not from rational argument, and the claim that even if you have a good rational argument that denies a premise of a holy text, that rational argument is invalid and that the holy text is the central pillar, or whether that's a holy text or a leader of a faith or what have you, depending on the particular religion, that something else takes precedence over logic and rational arguments and rational debate from free speech. If it's true that faith is the best method to attain truth, then Mill's arguments for free speech become much weaker, as several of them are based on the claim that free speech is the best way to attain truth. And if it's true that we shouldn't be questioning dogma to begin with, then there's a strong case for limiting free speech when it questions established religious dogma. Now, this argument might run something like this. Mill claims that free speech is justified because questioning beliefs leads to true beliefs. In fact, faith in a particular holy text or person or set of religions or religious ideals leads to true beliefs, while questioning those traditional beliefs freely does not. And this second claim is often justified by whatever claims are used to support the religion itself or the claim that the holy text is true. They all have some set of different claims for this. If faith is a better method for arriving at truth than free speech, then free speech is not justified, but faith is. On the same argument that Mill makes, that truth is something that we want to pursue. If this method is better, then we should follow that method. Now, the problem, of course, is going to rest in the justification for the second premise. If you don't believe that religion is true, there is no reason to believe that faith could provide truth. Without delving into particular arguments for particular religions, there are two issues with this claim. First, even if faith is a better means for attaining truth, it also leads inevitably to violence in a pluralistic society. If there is even a slight difference in your basic tenets of faith, you will never be able to settle those disagreements through discussion or rational argument. You will always have to resort to some level of violence, whether that's yelling and screaming at each other across the street or on Twitter or actual physical violence. No discussions related to faith can be settled through rational argument. Second, for those that believe in science or the progress of philosophy, there is ample evidence that free speech leads to the discovery of truth, or at the very least useful things that we like, if you're a skeptic, far more than faith ever has. Let's take a look at both of those arguments. So, several years ago I made a video on why faith inevitably leads to violence. I highly encourage that you check that out now. But here's the basic version. Basically, if two people take contradictory premises on faith, then no amount of discussion will allow them to come to a conclusion. The only way to settle the disagreement is through violence. However, their conclusions, and violence construed broadly here as not a nice rational argument, but perhaps screaming at each other on Twitter or yelling in each other's faces or physical violence. However, if their conclusions are rationally drawn from reason, they will always draw the same conclusions, and any disagreements that they have can simply be settled by looking at the logic. In the same way that if two people both try to solve the math problem, 2 plus 2, and one gets 4 and one gets 5, they're not going to need to sit and scream at each other to figure out which one is correct. They can go into their understanding of math and figure out, oh, here's the mistake that you made. Religion actively prevents free speech from being able to discover truth by binding individuals to dogmatic beliefs that they refuse to abandon, even in the face of evidence. In other words, the only reason that free speech would not lead to truth is due to irrational faith, which people hold on to even when it has been shown to be false. And for those of you that believe in science, there is ample evidence that free speech leads to truth and faith does not. Major scientific discoveries that created skyscrapers, the internet, automobiles, and electricity came about by challenging things once taken on faith. None of these were created by a more careful reading of the Bible or the Quran. These are truths about the world which were discovered through the process of testing our deeply held beliefs and finding them lacking. This is a process that free speech allows us to do because it allows us to question even those things that we are taking for granted. No one was allowed to speak out against Newtonian physics or a geocentric view of the world, to take one that many religious organizations did censor and work against. We would not have discovered these scientific claims and inventions. Even if you're a skeptic like me and are a little worried about the claim that science actually provides truth, but you're perhaps an instrumentalist about science, feeling that science may not be true, but it definitely gives us useful things, then you might say, well, I don't know what religion's given us in the past several thousands of years other than oppression and slavery and all these kinds of things. But science seems to have given us nice things like cars and electricity. Even if I'm not sure that one or the other is true, I like the cars and the electricity and the running water and not pooping in a hole. Now, one might argue that there are certain kinds of claims that religion is better at making progress on or studying than science, and dispute my claim that there are not any useful things that religion has given us in the past several thousand years. However, the evidence fails to bear these out as well. We have made moral progress. Slavery, for example, a moral harm, has been eliminated. It was not due to an in-depth studying of holy texts, which frequently condone and encourage slavery. Rather, it was done through debate and discussion. Free speech, not faith, changed hearts and minds of many different religions. And this is an important thing to understand. Moral progress made through faith is never something that can be global. It's always something that will happen within the small, cloistered sect of whatever religion you exist in. Moral progress made through free speech, philosophy, and discussion is something that can have a lasting effect on the whole world because those rational arguments apply to everyone, regardless of their religion or beliefs. Free speech, not faith, changed hearts and minds on slavery. If you think it's true that slavery is immoral, then free speech helped to uncover that truth and helped to spread that truth around the world. In spite of religious texts, including slavery and encouraging slavery in them. Now, many theists might claim that their religion does not outwardly oppose free speech, that they do not support government restrictions on free speech, and therefore have no bone to pick with Mill, and that what we're arguing against here is a straw man of Theocracy. That their religion, oh no, not us, we think anyone can say whatever they want, it's completely fine, we're not going to fight against that claim. However, the concern is that even if those religions do not impose limitations on the speech of those outside their congregations, their belief systems and practices often embody the principle of limiting discussion, debate, and any questioning of the faith, and impose those societal restrictions on their own religion. Mill, as we'll see in our next video in this series, was opposed both to governmental restrictions as well as societal restrictions on free speech. Many religions hold sermons, not discussions, where participants are not allowed to speak unless it's from a script. Many religions do not allow for anyone to change or question their holy texts or to question the ideas of the leaders of that religion, even as those holy texts and historical claims become ridiculously outdated. If you think that your religion really believes in free speech, stand up at the next sermon and argue with the preacher. Rewrite the holy text to fix the mistakes in the outdated immoral dogma and submit your new version for consideration. If they accept this and grow with it based on your ideas, perhaps your belief system is not against free speech. But if they reject your ideas and dogmatically refuse to change their holy texts and their moral principles that have become outdated and been shown through rational argument to be deeply, deeply immoral, then they are opposed to free speech as a matter of practice, if not a matter of law. Next up, we're going to be looking at free speech versus political correctness. Thank you for watching this video. Leave your comments and thoughts on free speech versus theocracy in the comments below. Free speech versus political correctness, we're probably going to do that in 2 weeks, depending on how things work out. So stay tuned for updates on that video. And we still have more in this series. We've got free speech versus the Prophet Muhammad. We've got free speech versus all sorts of things. So stay tuned for those. Watch this video and more here at Carneades.org. And stay skeptical, everybody.